make sure you know the significance of your roles as presenting ideas and also responding to each other's ideas, because we're still going to be integrating your feedback into the next stage of this process. So, Anthony, can we start with you and go around?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Anthony. I'm a senior. I'm a member of this class. I'm a double major in biology and music, and I'm a CAS minor.
I'm Shelby Shuby. I am a graduate student at the Heller School in the Conflict Resolution and Coexistence program, and I joined for just the design lab.
So speak up a little bit, okay?
Hi everyone, I'm Kate Fahey. I am also a graduate student at the Heller School for the COEX program, and I am here for the design lab.
I'm Zoe. I'm a sophomore, and I am a psych major and a CAS minor.
I'm Donald. I am a second-year master's student. I am also a member of this class.
Master's student in music.
Stacy, I work in institutional advancement, and I work with Cindy on raising money for all of her exciting initiatives to help them be possible.
Great. So glad you could come. Lee?
Hi, I'm Lee Swigert. I'm at the Ethics Center with Cindy and work on international justice issues.
And was here during the first session.
And I was
Yes.
I'm Hauke, a master's in the Heller School studying conflict resolution and coexistence. And I've been helping to organize this design lab and helped facilitate last week, and was involved in last year's design lab that was shaped around Aleppo and rebuilding Aleppo.
I'm Emily Forsyth Queen. I'm also a master's student in my second year, working on conflict resolution and coexistence and also sustainable international development. And I've been supporting Hauke and Cindy with parts of the facilitation of this design lab.
I'm Jean Miller. I'm a professor over at IBS, and I teach field experience and social innovation. Although I think you invited me here because in my background, I'm a former executive vice president of a bank in charge of real estate. So forgive me if my comments end up being very concrete and finance oriented. But thank you for having me.
And also your board connection to this issue.
The class that I teach is about I have 24 students on the board of 24 not-for-profits, and it's a leadership class. And the reason why I do this year-long class is I'm kind of a board nut, and I've served on, I think, 11 boards, but a number of them in the housing space. So I'm on the Planning Office of Urban Affairs in Boston. That is one of the largest affordable housing developing organizations in Massachusetts and certainly in Boston. And then I've also been on the board of Hearth, which is elderly housing for formerly homeless seniors. So it's a space I care deeply about.
Victoria.
Well, I'm Victoria. I'm a Fulbright visitor scholar. I've been here for this semester. These are my last 2 weeks, so I'm going to miss you.
And you're here from?
I'm here from Argentina, and I keep forgetting saying that, which is the most important part for me right now because I really miss my place.
I'm Wenty. I'm an artist and a community artist, and I worked quite often in the with the Asian American communities, and I've been working with Cindy for a long time in different capacities.
Decades.
And I'm kind of been visiting Brandeis periodically through the last 15, 20 years in Cindy's classes.
My name is Will C. I'm an educator, including for the theater department here, and a community artist, specialize in playback theater. What else am I? I don't know.
Grew up in Boston.
Yeah, I was born in Philadelphia, grew up in Boston, and I'm smack dab in between Harvard and MIT campus currently, trying to figure out what is going to become of that community.
Marcy McPhee, also from the Ethics Center, working with Cindy.
Hi, I'm Dan Feldman. I'm a member of the CAST Advisory Group, and I'm Vice President for Planning and Institutional Research at Brandeis, and I'm an artist.
Yes, and both Dan and Will were here last week and participated in these small groups. So what you're about to hear includes their thinking in some form. Yeah.
I'm Emily. I'm a sophomore. I'm in this class, and I'm an education major.
I'm Anna. I'm a first year in this class. I'm a prospective HSSP major and CAS minor.
I'm Kiana. I'm a fourth year. I'm in this class, and I'm a sociology major.
My name is Irma Samarripa. I'm a freshman, and I'm interested in CAST as well as social justice.
I'm Lizzie. I'm a first year. I'm interested in studio art and education, and also the CAST minor.
I'm Samira. I'm a first year. I'm a biology major, and I am also in this class.
Hi, I'm Maureen. I am a master's student in the Heller School and studying conflict resolution and coexistence.
Thank you, everybody. So we were expecting still Reverend Brown to come. I hope he's going to find his way. And also Kristen Parker from the Rose, who attended last week and participated in one of these groups. So I'm going to take 5 minutes and just orient our guests and also remind people in the class about where we are in a journey, right, of this question. So this isn't every step of the way, but this whole design lab, the idea of doing design labs has been part of this course since the first time it was taught in CAST, and last year we did a design lab on Aleppo. But the idea for this design lab actually came from Reverend Brown when he was receiving the Richmond Award. This is Kristen Parker from the Rose and the CAST Advisory Board. So it came when Reverend Brown was here last spring, and it was spring 2017, right, Marcy? Yes. And we asked him if we could support his work in any way, his work, amazing work in reducing violence in communities where there are a lot of gangs, and he said the problem that he's facing is that when communities work really hard and eliminate violence and make the streets safer, the housing prices go up so much that the people who did all that work to make their communities safer could no longer afford to live there. Rental costs and housing costs. So we said, okay, well, we'll take that on in our design lab in the introductory course to CAST. So that was the impetus for doing this design lab. Then over the summer, with Hauke's help, we did quite a bit of research on different creative approaches to this issue of gentrification, and we put together a frame of the syllabus. And then in the fall, we began with this class. So the first part of the semester, we were focused on other basic ideas about creativity, art, and social transformation, and I'll just highlight a couple. One is the notion of a moral imagination from John Paul Lederach, the idea that it's possible to be grounded in the real world with its injustice and suffering and still reach for a better world and work towards it. And there's certain disciplines that one practices to be able to do that, including embracing paradoxical curiosity and always remembering our interdependence and creating spaces for other people's creativity, which we tried to exemplify and embody in this class. We also visited with Jane Sapp, cultural worker and musician, and talked about themes of agency and resilience, transformation, and imagination. And we watched that amazing movie, Texas, Third Ward, Texas, of Rick Lowe's work in Houston, and looked at an example of a really artistic, arts-based creative approach to the restoration of a community in such a way that it would be accessible to the people who lived there and had lived there. It was not, an affordable $150,000 set of condos, but for poor people, for people coming out of prison, for single mothers without work. And he did an amazing job there. So these were some of our inspirations in the beginning of the semester, and then we coordinated with the Heller School, with Hauke's help and Emily's help, and enlisted the participation of 2 amazing students who are doing an independent study and will be responsible for writing up this design lab. And so the input that you have today on the presentations from the small groups will be used by the folks who are writing up this report. So it's really important that we get everyone's best thinking about the projects. So we had a session on framing the issue, and with Reverend Brown here. Looks like there might be somebody out there. Yeah, no? Okay.
There is not a parking space on campus. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he is driving around all over the place looking for a parking
Yeah.
space.
Okay.
Yeah, ditto. It's impossible.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Would you like to just introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Genevieve, and I'm the community organizer at Watch, and I'm trying for affordable housing.
Great. And you were here at a previous design lab a couple years ago.
Yes, yes.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So we spent a session framing the issue, looking at different creative approaches, including some work that Wen Tit Sen has done in Chinatown, who's back with us, and an amazing book called Urban Alchemy, which we recommend to everybody, about how to restore joy to America's sorted out, that is, America's segregated cities. And then last week we worked in 3 groups, and we're going to hear the reports from these 3 groups today. So Hauke, could you just read the main questions of the 3 groups, not the sub-questions?
So the first group worked on how can communities build resilience to prevent and protect against the effects of gentrification. The second group worked on how can art be used to influence the thinking of developers and politicians. And the third group worked on how can consciousness be shifted to center housing as a human right. And some of them might have changed the question slightly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one of the first tasks of each group when they met last week was to look at the stakeholders that relate to their issue, and also to see if they wanted to reframe the question in any way. So this is where we come to today, presentations and feedback. We're eager for all kinds of feedback, especially noticing how the creative ideas that are expressed here could be enhanced or improved, what's missing, what perspectives maybe need to be considered that haven't been considered, an appreciation for what is working, or what are some positive, even nuggets of ideas that might be presented. We're beginners, right, in this field, so we're counting on everyone to be constructive and a bit gentle. But we're eager for all your ideas. And as I said, the results of today will be integrated with all this and end up in a final report that will be sent to our community partners and will be on our website and go out to people in our kind of global network of arts and social transformation. So here's how it's going to work. Each group will have 15 minutes or so to present, and then we'll take 10 to 15 minutes for comments, feedback, whatever. And then we'll have some time at the end for just more conversation and general feedback. We need to end by 4, because our class has a little bit of work we need to do after this particular part. This is our last regular session, and we have to sort of work together on final projects too. So that's kind of where we are in a intellectual and creative journey. We're really excited to hear every group's presentations. I think I speak for everyone here to say that. And I feel like I've now taken plenty of time. Is there anybody, though, who has a question or concern or anything you want to raise before we get going? So I just want to ask students in the class, is it okay if we present in this order? Does anyone need to or want to go in a different order for any reason? Okay, so let's hear from group 1. That was the group that
Oh, yeah, we can put them there. And then using it. Alright, so this is a presentation on the Gentrification Design Lab. I'm Emily.
Can you all see?
Yeah,
Either
yeah.
way. Okay. Oh.
I'm Maureen.
I'm Anna.
I'm Kiana.
I'm Samira. And I'm Irma.
So, we reframed the problem a little bit from what it was read from the board. So what we have is, how can community resiliency and culture be sustained and become a method for confronting the effects of gentrification? And we also included this picture as a visual of gentrification. It shows this neighborhood in Boston in 2007 and then how it was gentrified in 2014. Yeah.
Okay, so the purpose of our project and our creative approach was basically to have community connections by having legal advice like lawyers, and then also have that educational aspect, whether it is like teaching little kids about the effects of gentrification or basically giving advice to older people and residents. The emphasis that we wanted to focus on was adaptability and community participation within the solution.
Who we identified as possible stakeholders within this solution and this issue were the residents of the community, local NGOs working on the issue of housing rights, CDCs and legal advisors, as well as educators and college students and cultural workers and people who can really contribute to this issue. Our solution would be to create space for a network and a space for people to meet both in person and virtually. It would be a center and a one-room community center that has different ways of being assembled, so it'd be very flexible and adaptable to whatever was going on. But it would also be a web database, a call center, and a radio show for people who wouldn't be able to physically show up in the space. And we emphasize the flexibility of the space and also the malleability of how it could be accessed because of the flexibility of the different communities and maybe the different stages of gentrification that people are facing.
We also wanted to emphasize that all ages or members of the community would be able to come together in this space. So in our education programs, we're including children of all ages, as well as adults of all ages, and giving them access to resources that would be relevant to where they are in terms of their connection to housing in the community. Then in the classes that we would be holding, both over radio or in person, depending on people's availability. We'd include leadership skills, community organizing, classes on culture, the cultures of the residents in the community and around the community, And then also information about the legal processes and the resources that are available to combat gentrification. And then as a way to connect the residents and really further community investment in the center, we have residents teach workshops on community culture.
Can you
and
just
then
say that again louder a little bit? I didn't hear that. I couldn't hear you.
we have residents teach classes on community culture. So as I noted before, the piece about like educating the people within the community about sort of who they're living with, who they're living next to, residents would have the opportunity to hold a class on sort of what their background is. And yeah, space for connection and organizing.
The space itself, so it's gonna kind of look like a one-room schoolhouse. So like it's the entire community center is just one room, and that will save money because it's just like one open space. You don't need to like pay for like some like big complex building. And it might have like a mezzanine like around the top that like goes around the room so that there's like a top level too, and they can like look down on the bottom level. And then like also like an outdoor space if they want to do like an outdoor event or class, or if like the kids want to play outside while their parents are at the center. It would also be flexible in terms of the furniture inside of it. So like everything, like the tables and the chairs, it would all be on wheels, kind of like we have here a bit. And also like whiteboards would be able to like slide around on wheels, and things could be like pulled out and like tucked away in closets if we're not using them. And there'd be like room dividers, so you could have multiple like classes of like, and like you could have kids in one area and like adults in another area separated by dividers. And this is a video that we found online that can show you a little bit what like a flexible space could look like.
So, in order for us to come up with a solution that would be the most effective, we really tried to solve potential challenges before they arise. So, for example, one potential challenge would be that this could be a costly solution to implement in communities. So, as Emily mentioned before, having it be a one-room space will really lower the costs. You'll have like a smaller, you won't have a lot of rooms. It'll be less cost for like heating and plumbing and all of that, since it'll only be one room. And the classes will be free because the teachers will be college students doing community service. So it will be really important to partner up with local colleges for this, which will be also elaborated on later in the presentation. So it will be a community service requirement of local colleges that specifically law majors must be legal advisors at the center. And other residents will be paid to teach classes on their culture for other residents, and they will be paid by a local university. So again, we'll have to have that partnership for local universities to finance this. And university students who teach at the center that are required to university students who teach at the center are required to attend classes to learn about the residents' culture so that they can really get an idea of who they're teaching to.
Another thing that we saw as a challenge was residents may be busy, so like some may be busy with their jobs that they have or their kids. So what how we overcame that was by having different methods. So they'll be able to like call in or choose different times to come in. So it's not like it's a restrictive thing. And if, sorry, but they can also just like go listen to the information at the radio station while they're going to work or just doing any everyday tasks, so they're still getting the same information as if they would just be walking into the center. And then another problem would probably be like, oh, we don't have like people to watch our children, but we came up with the solution of having children taking classes, so you're also they would also be like educating their children, and the children will also be benefiting by getting to know like what's happening in their communities, and just the information is really good for them to have. So the parents would also just be able to educate themselves while having their children educated.
So one of the other challenges would be finding educators, and as we mentioned in the presentation, we plan on having a connection to the local university, and students who are law majors or involved in paths of study that are relevant to this issue. Once we sort of figure out and finalize this partnership with the university, majors would be required to teach a class for credit in order to receive that major on their diploma, and then they'd also be required to take a class, so it would almost be like a trade-off. And then it's excellent career practice, excellent ways to implement their studies, so we felt like this would be sort of a win-win for both the community and the university partnering. Yeah.
So in order to demonstrate like our ideas and actually put it into action, we decided to do something very creative, which is improv. So we hope that we have fun with it. There's gonna be some humor to it, so we hope that you are flexible with that. Also, we're gonna witness the fluidity of movement in and out of the center and how it can be used in different situations for different purposes.
So one of the things we noticed is that humor is a way to call attention to an issue. So that's another reason that we are including humor. But also because a lot of times people don't have conversations because they're uncomfortable about something. So humor is another way to break the ice. So we just want to clarify that we're making this decision intentionally and not disrespecting the issue by making a joke about it. Yeah.
Also, like, you're gonna see on the screen, go to the next one, yeah. So you'll like see on the screen like the two characters that each person will be playing during the improv scene, so you like know what's happening. Yeah, so you can just follow along and we'll change it out each scene. Yeah. Mommy said we might lose our house.
Why would you lose your house?
I don't know.
Well, you know where it is, right?
552 32 Lane.
Perfect. Okay. So you know where your house is. That means you can't lose it. Right?
Oh, should I get it a leash?
Yes. Like a dog, like a puppy. Perfect. So where's mommy right now?
Here.
Here?
She's behind that screen.
Behind that screen?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's mommy doing right now?
I don't know.
Do you think we can go take a peek?
Sure.
Okay, let's look. Let's see. Right over there. Do you see mommy?
Mommy!
See? Yep, she's waving. She's over there. And do you see how she's looking at that screen over there? What's on there? Lots of words, right?
I can't read.
Yeah, lots of adult things.
Uh-huh.
Well, what mommy's learning is how to talk to people and talk to the person who runs your building. And as a result, you're going to be able to keep your house.
Woo! Let's go play!
What do you want to play with?
We were talking, yeah.
I'm on my way to work.
Hello, you're listening to the Community Center radio station. Today we will be getting some legal advice on how to keep your house. Can I get a clap from listening. Thank you. But keep on to that wheel because it's gonna be a crazy ride. So, step 1, put your house on a leash. You're gonna have to drive home to do that. Step 2, put your house, go talk to the people who own your house.
Hi, you're my neighbor, so I wanted to get to know you and just basically see if you have any problems in your community that we can basically get together and go to that community center that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Where's his name?
Okay, so today we're going to be learning about basically how I'm implementing what I'm learning in my law class. And since I want to be a lawyer, I'm going to give you legal advice on gentrification laws that are happening right now that are being enacted, and also how like gentrification can be beneficial if you basically aren't aware of your rights in the community. I know that here in the community that you live in, there's a lot of undocumented immigrants, so they are affected because they tend to not know their rights. So here's a list of basically resources that we're offering. If you have any questions, there's also a number down there. But yeah, just basically like I've created PowerPoints and just basically resources of your rights, so you can be aware of the effects of gentrification and how you can contribute to diminishing these effects.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I just moved here from Texas. I was wondering if you could tell me what some things about your neighborhood. Well, our new neighborhood.
Hi, welcome. So this is a community center. It's a really great place to learn about everything that's going on within this community because we do have cultural classes. So residents that have been here for a while teach classes to either newcomers or people who are coming in to teach our other classes about the background of the neighborhood, what's going on, any community events, and just get to know the people that are here. And while you're here, if you experience any sort of hardship with landlords or anything like that, we actually have legal advisors coming from the different schools in the area to teach about different ownership rights as well as rent rights to the people that are in this community. So if you, I don't know if you have a family, but if you do, we have a lot of events for kids as well. We also have we have a radio show.
Okay.
And we have a website with a lot of information, like all the information that you see here, you can also access online.
Okay.
And welcome to the community.
Okay, well you guys make, oh.
Couple more minutes, you guys.
All right. Would you like to take a seat?
Yes.
So I'm here today. I am an immigrant from the Balloon Planet, and I'm here to teach you about my culture. So one of the most important foods in my culture are purple carrots, and I will be hosting a just an event to teach the community about my culture in the community center, where I will be serving purple carrots to everybody, and I will be teaching you our cartwheel dance, which is it's another really big part of my culture. So I cannot wait to share this with the entire community.
Well, I can't wait to attend to get to know you better.
Have a seat. Chop chop. We're late. Okay, so I'm a professor, you're a student. That means power dynamic is great. So you need to teach a class and take a class. You need to be able to function like a human in the world, and as a result, you need to be able to teach other people what you've learned and help them. I'm so busy and tired though. I'm a college student. I'm basically living off of coffee right now. I don't sleep. I don't have time for 2 shots of espresso. Okay, thanks. So you're gonna go to this community center, and for credit, you're gonna For credit. Okay. Yeah. You're gonna teach a class to the residents on the effects of gentrification and how they themselves have resources that exist within their community and through us in our center 2, be able to communicate with landlords and local real estate to make sure that they'll be able to keep their houses and keep their community together. Then, because it would be rude to just go in there and say things, you're also going to have to listen. So we have the opportunity for you to take this list of classes here that the residents are going to teach on their community culture. Pick one.
Oh.
Good choice.
You guys want to just pull some chairs up into the front so people can ask you questions or make any suggestions?
Can we stand up?
Sure.
Okay.
That's true.
Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah.
So I had a question. I think it's a really interesting idea. I just wondered, given in particular communities there might be existing community centers or different kinds of organizations that are already doing some things like that. So I wonder if you had any idea about how, instead of coming in and building something new, that there could be some sort of partnership building with existing resources.
That was actually something that we thought about, and I don't know if it was clear in our presentation, but if there was a community center that existed or a space that already existed, our first choice would be to use something that's already there, and that would be another way to reduce cost and also incorporate what already exists in the community. So that's a good point.
I just wanted to say that I thought it was really interesting that, like, you have like the radio show and also having people who are teaching classes, like take classes about the culture in the community. So I just thought that was really inventive and a good way to take something that is already like a thing, like a community center, and make it more accessible and community-based.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good presentation. How can I incorporate this to my tenant action group that I have? I meet with them once a month to talk about their rights and responsibilities of being a tenant. But you know, that can be very repetitive for the people that go continuously. So this can be a good idea, but how I can just, you know, customize it for once a month type of thing. You have ideas?
Are there any specific concerns from tenants that might regularly come up, or maybe gaps in knowledge that people would want to have filled in order to be more informed? Like, are there ways to maybe make it a theme every month to kind of touch on something in a different manner, or to incorporate a new theme with that information?
The gap that I see most of the time is the lack of information that tenants have about their rights, especially when they have to face eviction. They are so afraid to the constable that they think that it's the police that they are going to have to face, and probably they are going to go to jail, or if they don't have an immigration status, they think that they are going to pull them all to immigration. So all these ideas, and that's what I'm trying to teach them once a month. You have rights, you don't need to worry about that. Of course, unless you have some criminal case pending, that's when the real problem comes. But other than that, no.
It sounds like, so if you're only meeting with these people once a month, obviously a lot of things can occur between those meetings. So maybe that's where something like the website that we talked about comes into play, where there's information on the website written in a way that's easy for the average person to understand. Because one of the reasons that we talked about a website was that we noticed that a lot of the legal jargon was sort of a barrier to understanding sort of the rights, because even we had trouble with that. And we're like focusing on this issue specifically. So I think maybe that could be an avenue to try.
And that website that we talk about, like, it's not necessarily in one language. It would be translated to multiple languages. That way, because we know in the city of Boston, it's a city of a lot of immigrants, ranging from a lot of languages. So we would basically do this website to best fit the needs of the residents, as well as the legal advice that they need in order to keep their homes as well.
Website is a good idea to translate it, because we have the website, and also we have a clinic every Monday and Thursday that basically is run by Brandeis students. And I'm there most of the time, and one of my colleagues that are also there. But I like this idea to also have it open for everybody in the community, can be the landlord or other people that are interested in building community, rather than just, trying to find out that we are going to be a more sophisticated city if we put all these fancy buildings.
It seems like one of the core ideas from here is that these events not just they do address legal issues and some of these practical questions, but also there's a chance for people to bring aspects of their culture and just share them. So it's kind of like a celebration and an honoring of local culture as well, which we, in our class, have talked about as a way of strengthening the resilience of the community, to know what they know and honor their own ways of life. We maybe have time for one more. Yes.
Mine's not a question, it's a comment, but I would just say that I think the power of community centers, especially once they build repertoire in the neighborhood, is such an amazing way to bring people together and start those conversations and start that community building and face recognition around the neighborhood and all those kinds of things. And I've also seen where pairing it with online platforms, so Facebook Live, actually, there was a community meeting in my neighborhood that was streamed on Facebook Live, and it was a debate, and so people could actually kind of participate and ask questions, and people that maybe weren't able to get off of work but wanted to know about the local, elected officials, or people with, kids at home and couldn't leave the house or something like that. I think that that's a great way to pair it. So I just wanted to give that plug as well.
Okay. Any other comments we can receive in writing? And we'd love to get more, but thank you all very much. And to the report writers, I think it's important to note the interest that we received from Genevieve representing Watch to this idea, and also the importance of maybe adapting the idea to other structures like a once a month or a twice a week program. Genevieve might even be willing to talk with us further about how to make this more really useful. I mean, practically useful. Okay, group 2. Oh, wait, before you start, there's a couple people who entered, sorry, before. So, Reverend Brown, would you like to just say hello again?
Hello again.
And Genevieve, you did introduce yourself, right?
Yes, I did.
And Michael?
I'm Michael Donald, with Corporate and Foundation Relations at the university.
Okay. Did anyone else come? Kristen, you introduced yourself, yes, or I introduced you. Okay, great. So let's hear from group 2. Remind us of your issue.
You would have the logo.